And we do want to get right to our Dan Mannarino, who is in Washington this morning. Dan, you were at the dinner last night. I know that you were surrounded by fellow journalists from News Nation as well as from New York City. Give us a sense of what happened in those moments when the shots were being fired.
Good morning, Kirsten. Yeah, and I'm, by the way, staying at the same hotel, so I'm still at the Washington Hilton. But yes, everybody had to present these tickets, by the way, to get into the event. So you present your ticket, and then you have to go through a very number of checkpoints that are not magnetometers, just to show your ticket. That final point before you enter the ballroom with 3,000 other journalists and dignitaries is where those magnetometers were. But once the evening kind of began, I mean, it was business as usual. The Star-Spangled Banner, the president came out onto the dais along with the First Lady. The Vice President was there as well. And the program was about to begin. They were just serving appetizers when all of a sudden our table for the Next Star News Nation group was right at the back of the ballroom. So the door was right behind our table. And it was clear as day what we heard in those moments. Right here, what you're looking at is when those shots were fired. And there was confusion in the room because it didn't quite make its way up to the dais. You see there's a bit of a delay before it actually makes its way up to where the president now is shielded by those Secret Service agents. But there was confusion and chaos in the ballroom. But from my vantage point and from my table, we hit the ground very quickly and got under the table because they were very clear 6 to 7, potentially more gunshots on the opposite end of that door. And just to kind of give you some perspective on the lay of the land here, right outside that ballroom is a staircase. That staircase at the top of it is where the magnetometers were, and that is where the gunman was able to make his way through. So it was a short distance away from the entrance to the ballroom. This is, of course, moments after when there was a lot of confusion going on. We were all told to stay in place in the ballroom without any idea of what was happening on the other side of that door. I mean, for all of us journalists, we want to know the information, Kirsten, and in those moments, you're not only dealing with a bit of panic yourself, but you see a bunch of Secret Service agents run into the room to shield the president. And then right here, this is Steve Scalise, who, by the way, was in a shooting just back in 2017, being ushered out. Marco Rubio, Linda McMahon, all the dignitaries that were in the audience, Kash Patel, they're invited guests of news organizations were at tables, and Secret Service agents had to hop over those tables to get to their specific dignitary to then get them out of the ballroom. So it was a chaotic scene, but as Gio was reporting, no injuries except to that officer who was shot with his vest on. And so that is the good news here. And I will say it was a heck of a camaraderie with all the journalists who were just making sure everybody in that room was okay.
It's just such an incredible collection of people that you see in the room, and you don't see this very often, where you see not only the leaders of the free world, the president, the vice president, but also spouses are side by side with them, also the journalists who are covering them. And we know that there's a lot of heightened rhetoric in our nation right now. We don't know who the gunman was targeting at this point. Law enforcement not releasing that.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there's a whole host of people. You know, the motive is unclear that this individual could have been going after because it was widely reported who was going to be in the room. A lot of the dignitaries besides the president and vice president are invited guests of news organizations, and that was widely covered beforehand, that Marco Rubio, Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth were going to be invited guests of various news outlets, NBC News, CBS News, for example. And so, yeah, it's very interesting because it's a fully operational hotel at the same time. So people are saying, well, how the heck did this person make his way so close to the ballroom? But this is a fully operational hotel, so you don't need to have security checkpoints to get into the hotel. I'm a guest of the hotel, so when I arrived with my bags, you go right to your check-in, you check in, you go to your room. And there were also various parties last night that were being hosted within the hotel as well. News organizations hold various parties that people can attend that may not actually have a ticket to go to the dinner. So there's a lot of movement in the hotel and only one checkpoint to get into the actual ballroom. But I will say this, yes, the rhetoric is high, and this is supposed to be a night that is celebrating journalism, celebrating the First Amendment, celebrating scholarships for future journalists at the same time. And that is why at the end of the evening, the president of the White House Correspondents Association, Wei Zhejiang, and the President Donald Trump, said they would like this to happen again within 30 days because of the significance and importance of the actual event.
And it was wonderful that we heard the president say that, because anybody that sort of follows the inside politics on this knows that there has been some back and forth with the president. And this is the first time that he's attending this this event, even though the president is invited every single year to the White House Correspondents Dinner. But also talk to the security, Dan, because we've seen this before. Notably, we saw the shooting in Las Vegas at the music festival. We see people able to get weaponry into hotels, and that is definitely sort of an open security point that we see in situations like this. It would be easy to bring a shotgun into a hotel in luggage, and handguns and knives, all things that he was armed with.
Yeah, and specifically to a hotel of this magnitude. This hotel is widely known to Secret Service, FBI, the Washington police as well, because there's so many events that are held here at this specific hotel. And I was chatting this morning with one of the hotel workers who said that they're no doubt going to be changing the security policies for the next dinner that is held here. To your point, Kirsten, yes.
To the point where the president has now brought up again, this is the reason why he wants his ballroom, because he knows that he can create greater security for state events like this, even though this is not an officially sanctioned state event, but an event like this where you see the president attending with others.
Yeah, I mean, he brought that point up last night, right? That there is something to be said about the fortitude of the White House. But the Secret Service has said time and time again that they were confident they could share the perimeter of this ballroom. And I do want to stress, the individual didn't make his way to the ballroom. He got close, but it wasn't to the perimeter of the ballroom. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot looked at, I think, in the investigation. Who was the target? What was the motive? And how was he able to get down to the level of where the ballroom was to then sprint? In that video you saw the president put out, where were the guns? He had knives as well, according to some reports as well. Where was he holding that? Was it in his hotel room? Did he stash it potentially in a bathroom, which one of the hotel workers this morning was saying? There are so many different places that you can kind of put things, and a lot of times, you know, someone, I'm gonna leave my bag here for a second, I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee, whatever it may be. So there's a lot, I think, that's going to come out in the investigation. But I think it was really important for the president to come out and say that the event is important for this to move forward, just to not allow something like this to cancel an event in the future.
Dan, we so appreciate your first-person reportage in all of this. We appreciate everything that you brought us last night in the moment during breaking news coverage. And, of course, we're so very glad that you are safe and well, and that all the other journalists, the president, and all dignitaries there in attendance were. And we're